So since today is also the occasion of Mother's Day, we shall request our godmother for Trinidad to come and sit here. Mother India. Can someone help her to come? And bring a mat for the feet also. Small mat. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so we shall read from Bhagavad as it is. For those of you seeing me for the first time, my name is Bhakti Bhagavat Swami. I'm from, this body was born in Durban in South Africa. And I'm in ISKCON for the last 36 years. Okay, you can repeat after me the invocation before we read from Bhagavad Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 10, entitled The Opulence of the Absolute, text number 10. The Sanskrit is as follows. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam Adami buddhi yogam tam yena man A.C. Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Before what I'm reading, those two frames here, okay, put it on. It's there on the side. We used this screen for the seminar we did in the last 3 days. So we did remove these photos and now we're putting it on that. Okay, so the translation to this text number 10 in chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, the word Buddhi Yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter, the Lord, instructing Arjuna, said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of Buddhi Yoga. Now, Buddhi Yoga is explained. Buddhi Yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. But when one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, he takes fully to Krishna consciousness and devotional service. His action is called Buddhi Yoga. In other words, Buddhi Yoga is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. When a person knows the goal of life but is attached to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in jnana yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in Bhakti yoga or Buddhi yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization. But if he is still not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. A devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service. The Lord gives them a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to Him. The verse in translation again. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Omagyan Timirandasya Agyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Kadubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitana Pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today happens to mark the occasion of honoring our mothers. And next to me, on my left, is our godmother. That means the mother of all mothers in ISKCON, Trinidad and Tobago. So sometime earlier this week, His Grace Prem Prabhu, who I am living with. Of course, when I used to come about 20 years ago, I used to live there in the temple upstairs. And then one time, His Holiness Guru Prasad Swami Maharaj was here, living in the same room. And then they put me in the room or the home of Mother Indira down the road, which was like a smallish home at that time. Now Prem Prabhu has developed into like a 2-story building. So I remember living there because she was living in the temple and she gave me shelter at that time. I think Prem Prabhu must have been in the US or something at that time. So a few days ago, just now, this week, when I came back from Guyana, I was asking Prem Prabhu, so how's your mother coping with her health situation and she's in the temple? Why doesn't she stay with you here at home? So he replied, I very much like that she comes and stays with me. But she insists that she wants to stay with Shishirada and Gopinath. Even if it is a little bit physically inconvenient, but that's where her heart and that's where her home is. Right here in the ashram and the temple of Shishirada Gopinath. So that's not an ordinary thing. And that's not an ordinary devotee. Okay? And knowing Mother Indira over the years, limitedly of course, because I don't live amongst you daily, she likes to serve, but she doesn't like to accept service. Yes or no? Yeah. So you can all tell her that we have a difficulty with that. Because Mother Indira also has to learn to accept service as a service. And there are many persons who would like to serve in various ways. But I think she's just a stubborn servant of Shri Radha Gopinath, not allowing others to get the benefit of serving her. So I would humbly request her to encourage us in our Krishna consciousness now and speak some words of realization and some wisdom for some minutes, and then after that I shall continue. Is it okay, Mother Indira? How many minutes you need? Well, you speak and I'll let you know when to stop. Increase the volume now.
Hare Krishna.
Louder, louder.
All glories to all mothers. All glories to all the Mataji, all mothers.
1 minute. Switch it out first. Switch it out first.
Hare Krishna. So, all glories to all the mothers. Many years ago, ladies from different temples was invited to our meeting, and Kanta Prabhu had invited me to go on behalf of ISKCON. So in the meeting, I had to explain that what is Krishna consciousness. And so I mentioned that what is Krishna consciousness, that we have to follow 4 rules: no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit relationships and all of that. And what Krishna consciousness is like that. So after some time, they had recorded everything that I said, and it was on the papers in a big way, the mother of the Hare Krishna, and what the Hare Krishna is like. Kanta Prabhu had arranged that. And all the ladies who went, the picture and the name was on the papers too. But I was like the mother of the Hare Krishna, and that. So it was in the papers all over, and I think Prabhu, he told me that he had one of the papers. You still have it? So I have been serving. It was also in the papers. Since 71, devotees came to Trinidad. Vaikunthanath and Saradia and Kanopra and his wife. They came to Trinidad in 71. And I used to go to the Hindu temple in touch with San Fernando. And my husband saw the devotees on the papers. And he showed it to the person who was to carry on the service in the temple, Mr. Hansaram Sambuj. And he said, well, go and see what they're about. It was in St. James Hindu temple. So we went, and there was two couple American devotees, Vaikunthanath and his wife, and Kanopya and his wife. So my husband spoke to them, and they said Krishna is God, and about Bhagavad Gita, and they do eat meat, fish, and egg, and all these things. So my husband arranged a program. That was in Monday. My husband arranged a program for this Saturday to the Hindu temple in Tachi, San Fernando. So he went for them and take them to the temple. And the temple was really full with people. And they were surprised to see, American devotees speaking Bhagavad Gita fluently, because then after the program, we take them home. we was living Pleasant Park, Point of View, and we had a house, 2-bedroom, a garage, a living room, and everything. So we gave the 2 couple the 2-bedroom, and we sleep in the living room on the floor with our children. So this is the way I came to Krishna consciousness, and from since then, I never stopped serving. So I got initiated. After my husband died, I got initiated by Brhat to Swami, and we never stopped serving. And I don't want to boast or anything, but anyway, in this temple, you could see my service. The floor you're walking on, I just giving you a little idea. After I saw those floor upstairs, one day we should call with me, and he said, you only buying things for people to eat. Why don't you change the window in them upstairs? So then he called with me, and then I had to change the only window upstairs. So from since then, I never stopped serving. I can't walk now. I used to make garland just recently, and since I can't walk, I'm not doing anything, but I'll just give some donation and all of that. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Can you give a message to the fathers of how to treat the mothers?
Well, I was treated properly because since my husband, I cannot complain because it was his effort to accommodate devotees, and and so I become a devotee. So everybody should try to insist that is the purpose of husband and wife, to help each other to be a devotee, to go back home to the spiritual world. We have learned, like when I met devotee, although I was in a group, a Hindu group, going to temple, the only time when I met devotee, they speak about the spiritual world. I never heard about the spiritual world before. So that is the purpose of this human life, husband and wife, that help each other to go back to the spiritual world.
Very good. No, you sit. You're comfortable, right? Yeah, good. Hare Krishna. So, one time in the history of our movement, during Srila Prabhupada's time, there was like a sort of, you could say like a silent contention between the men and women in the movement itself. And to the extent that there was like talks that the girls, the wives, or the mothers in our movement are given like second place. They kept in the background, or they always behind, or something. So that kind of a feeling was going on. See? So Srila Prabhupada, he happened to be in Mumbai, which is Bombay. So that kind of like talk even reached the newspapers in Mumbai, the leading newspapers in Mumbai. So newspaper people and television people and so forth. If you tell them to come and interview me and speak about ISKCON Trinidad and its activities and what they do, they will not come. Because they want their newspapers to sell according to the consciousness of the people. So they thought, oh, this is a very good subject to put on the front page of our newspapers of how the Hare Krishnas treat their girls, wives and mothers, the women in general. Let's go and interview the founder Acharya. See? So two different newspaper reporters came to interview Srila Prabhupada in Mumbai. So from one leading newspaper in India, there was a man, like a male, a newspaper reporter to come and interview Srila Prabhupada. And that was like a leading Hindi newspaper daily. From another newspaper, they got word, because they have their connections everywhere, people will give them information. So from another newspaper, leading newspaper, they heard that somebody is going to interview Swami Prabhupada, as they used to call him then, the head of the Hare Krishna movement. And there, they found out what's going to be the subject of the interview. And they sent a lady newspaper reporter. See? So I heard this from a devotee who's late now. He was a big industrialist in Mumbai. He was like a PhD in his field and a businessman, Dr. N.D. Desai. And he was initiated as Srinathji Das. So he was a young man sitting in the same room with Srila Prabhupada when these newspaper reporters came to interview him. And they were obviously speaking Hindi to interview Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada was responding in Hindi, and Srinathji Prabhu was understanding the whole thing. And then Srila Prabhupada's other disciples from the Western world, they couldn't understand much of what was happening. So then Srila Prabhupada graciously received these two newspaper reporters' interview, and they were taking notes, and they had their secretaries because this is an important person. And then there was also maybe some video footage taken or photographs of the newspaper. So Srila Prabhupada asked the Indian man, all in Hindi, the newspaper reporter, so what is your question? So he said that I heard that in your movement, the women, including your disciples, are all given second-class treatment. In other words, the prominent positions and decision-making is given to the men in your movement. I heard this. There's no equal opportunity or equal rights. And that's quite controversial. And it's very juicy news to the reporter. See? Very juicy news to the reporter. So Srila Prabhupada looked at him and he asked him a question. And he said, who is the defense minister of this universe? He didn't know. The newspaper reporter man didn't know. So then he asked the lady newspaper reporter, before he asked that question. So he said, can you answer? And she immediately said, Durga Mata. Durga Mata. See? Then he turned on back to the male newspaper reporter and he asked him, now you answer my next question. At this time he got a little bit careful, he knows what's coming. He said, now you tell me, who is the Minister of Education in the universe? So immediately he said, Mother Saraswati. And then Srila Prabhupada asked him another question. Who is the finance minister? And then he immediately said, oh, Mother Lakshmi. And Srila Prabhupada said, oh, you are asking me this question and you don't know your own culture? And then Srila Prabhupada said, in any government, these three ministers are closest to the president and the prime minister. Finance, defense, and education. Education is a propaganda machine. Finance means funding and defense. These three ministers are pivotal. In fact, the future prime ministers sometimes are one of these three ministers, or president of the country. So Srila Prabhupada virtually, took some thread and stitched his mouth up not to speak more. Not to speak more. See? And then he left, and he did not really give any report on the Hare Krishna movement's so-called controversy. But the lady reporter stayed on. And she was so favorable. She asked Prabhupada more questions, not only on the controversy, but other things. And she gave a fantastic a report in the front page of the newspapers in Hindi. In Hindi. So after the newspaper reporters left, because during this interview, the lady was just laughing and laughing at this newspaper reporter man, who wants to do dance. We women are important, we can become finance minister, and defense minister, and education minister. Who are you, So the other disciples didn't really understand because they didn't know Hindi. They were just looking and they couldn't laugh also because they couldn't understand. So after the newspaper reporters left, Prabhupada explained what he said in English to them. And then Srila Prabhupada said, but I didn't say one thing because it's too intimate. It's too intimate. Who's the Prime Minister? Who's the Prime Minister? Srimati Radharani. She controls all their expansions. She's not just the minister, she's the Prime Minister. So Prabhupada explained something to the effect that he couldn't tell them about the Prime Minister. So on this auspicious day of honoring our mothers, we can see there are three illustrious mothers: Mother Durga, Mother Lakshmi, and Saraswati Mata. They have such a great responsibility in the administration of this universe. Great responsibility. Another time, Srila Prabhupada indicated that the reason why Saraswati is responsible for education is because the mothers know best how to bring up the children, to educate them, right from the day they're born, with everything. From teaching them how to be clean, how to brush the teeth, how to feed them, and also they make good teachers in schools. Especially for the little ones, for the younger children. So they educate them, so therefore it is appropriate that Saraswati Mata is the Minister of Education for this universe. We do have about 10 minutes or so prior to 12 midday. So if you want to ask Mother Indira or myself some questions, you are free to do so. Or if you want, you can offer some comment. That's all right also. Anyone?
About the Machidi,
1 minute. You have a microphone for him?
Oh,
Yes.
sorry, man. Hare Krishna.
This is Patita Udaran Prabhu. Now my request to you, Patita Udaran Prabhu, you keep your comment or your question very precise and short, so that we can give others a chance to also ask questions. Are we clear on that?
Thank you, man.
Right? No, very precise and short.
I can use the voice, I can stretch my voice.
No, 1 minute, please, just in the mic. We need it also for other people.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Good. Okay, the microphone is coming to you. So I'm going to remind you if you're not precise and short. Okay, so tell us.
Is this okay?
Good?
Machidi is in this corner.
Huh?
Machidi is in this corner. I said that there is a secret weapon in this corner. Now in the army, the secret weapon that annihilate the army. So mine is very strong, the material is coming. So the women are the secret weapon in this movement. But could you explain that?
I don't know that.
I know.
Can you explain how the secret weapon?
A secret weapon,
How is that?
the military, annihilate another military, and the women going out distributing books, preaching, their purity, the secret weapon. But I don't want to speculate. I just, as you see,
No, when a woman goes out and distributes Papa's books,
yes,
and when a man goes out and distributes Papa's books, they're not going out as woman and man.
yes,
They're going out as humble servants of Srila Prabhupada and as a spirit soul.
Thank you.
Are we clear?
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. So that's an open secret. Good. Next question or comment from anyone? Anyone? So who's one of our senior mothers? She has a question. Or comment.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Mother, I just want to give a, happy Ramadan, for all my Krishna conscious mind. And
Okay,
I just
now
want,
can you increase the volume a little bit? I have to hear more. Can't hear. Chant, Hare Krishna mantra, chant.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare-
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
That's better, good.
Hare Rama, Rama
Good,
Rama,
now we can
Rama.
hear you.
Yes, I've been around Malaysia for, all my Krishna conscious life, which has been a very long time,
How many years?
maybe about 30 years.
Good, go ahead.
Yes, and Malaysia has always been a source of inspiration. She always encouraged me. When I fall short, she would be there to pull me up, chastise me sometimes, which it never went out overboard with her chastisement. You could have always seen the love in her because she would tell you what she had to tell you, but in the next instant, if she has sweets or anything, she will be offering it to you. So, Malindira, we love you very much, and we're still happy that you're here with us. And we just pray to Krishna, we'll just pray to Krishna for him to continue to bless you and make you stay longer with us. So this is all I have to say. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mother Indira ki. Microphone, yeah?
Hare Krishna. To add to this, I would like to say that well, I second what the attorney has just said. And Mother Indira, I remember her telling me one time, well, not one time, more than that when she came to the Krishna consciousness and she read the first verse of the Bhagavatam, and she said that inspired her. Yeah, she said that inspired her. So I read the first verse and I said, yes, Mother Indira, that verse is really an inspiration. I will learn that verse. And I learned that verse. And another time again, she wrote it in a book. And she told me, she heard the verse somewhere, and she said, I think I wrote that in my book, So I said, really? So when she got the book and showed me, I saw the verse that she was speaking about. I said, Mother Indira, that is a real great verse. I want to learn that verse. And I learned that verse also. And I told her, I said, Mother Indira, if I die before you, you say this for me. And if you die before me, I will say that for you.
Haribol. Helping each other in Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? On this side, I give it to Gopinath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, it's actually not my wording, but there was a devotee that was living with us. His name was Kavi Karnapur. He was staying in the ashram here for some time. And I think we were doing some course or something, but this really struck me about what he said about Mary. I think he's in Austin, Texas now. But we were discussing about, who in our little tiny world, just, we're good friends, and we're just discussing that who would make it back home to Godhead in this life. I think it sprang up from some lecture that we have recently heard. And he just popped out and he said, well, if it's one devotee going to go back home in this life, it certainly will be Mary. That really struck me like a bullet. I said, yes, what you're saying is true. The dedication is so intense. The bhajan is so intense. And
Can I say something to complement what you said further? Can I do
yes, of course.
that? Not undermining what you said, but can I say something? Mother Indira doesn't need to go back to Godhead. She's living what she Shivada Gopinath.
Haribol.
Are we clear? You digest that. Slowly it will digest. So when you live in the temple with the Lord and Srimati Radharani, there's no need to go further. Are we okay? So if any of you want to come and live with the Lord, you come and spend some time here in the ashram. And the living facilities may be simple. But sometimes you may have to come here and clean the room yourself. Fine. Come do it. And try to spend some days here in the ashram. Or if you can't live here, then come and live with Shri Radha Gopinath and clean the temple floor, or clean the kitchen, or work with the gardens outside. Whatever you inclined to do, you can do. This sort of service, practical service that can be done. Is that okay, Gopinath?
Yes.
You also live here. Yes. Anyone else? Comments or questions? So let's ask one of the children and their daughter or son to speak about mothers. Who is our transcendental victim? Where are you taking the microphone to?
I have to choose.
Well, then they can fight with you later, not with me. So you choose. Haribal, when he put the microphone, you took it. So why are you complaining? You took the microphone. So now place it next to your mouth. Place it. And chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Come on.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Now stand up and give your darshan to everyone. Stand up. Stand up. Don't go inside the ground. Stand up. Is your mata here? Your mother? Your mama is here? Where's mama? Okay, mama, you can sit now. Right. So can you tell us about the value of mothers in Krishna consciousness? Eat the microphone. Eat it.
Hare Krishna. Mothers in Krishna
What's your name?
consciousness. Chinmay Radha.
Chinmay Radha. Okay.
Mothers in Krishna consciousness. To me, they are the first platform, they're the stepping stone for us to reach anywhere in Krishna consciousness in the beginning anyway. My mother, well, all mothers in general, they train you to bring you up in that Krishna conscious atmosphere. They nurture that devotion, that love for God. And it's like a seed. They plant it and it slowly grows. So it's because of my mother and her practice and her service and devotion that inspires not just me, but all of my sisters and even other younger devotees to become such, servants and to serve. And even Madhura and all the other Mataji's in the ashram, they have always inspired us, always treat us as daughters, as no one chastisement or training or whatever, we always accept it. So I really appreciate that.
Wonderful. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, can you give the microphone to this young Vaishnavi here? Yes, next. It's the second one from here. Yes, you. Now, can you stand up? Can you go to Srila Prabhupada and face everybody? Tell us your name.
Sachi Sundari Devdas.
Sachi Sundari. Can you tell us about mothers and prasadam? That's easy. That's easy, right?
Because after this morning we come to the temple breakfast to the Lord, and Mommy has taught me almost everything I know about cooking. Every Sunday, at least once a month, she does cooking, and
Your mother's in the kitchen. All right, that's Krishna's arrangement. So, if you want your favorite prasad, you get it? What's your favorite?
actually, Mommy has taught me to eat anything I get once it's prasadam. And
Don't be too respectful. Just spell it out. Be as you are. What you like to eat. It must be prasad, but what's that type of prasad? Aloo.
Any kind of aloo.
Good. Potato, huh? So Mata, you make sure you make some aloo for her today, especially, huh? Especially when you go back today. You demand it, huh, for today. Thank you very much. So what's next in the program? Oh, Aarti, right? Alright, so we thank you very much for allowing us. We have some service. Mother Indira Ki.